Welcome to video session number 3. Today, the paper we're going to present is called Determining the Sentiment of Opinions. It's done by Su-Min Kim and his colleagues in the year of 2004. Today, we're going to give a very brief overview of the original paper, and then we're going to present some very interesting extensions. First, as for the problem definition. As for opinions mainly consist of 4 parts: the topic, the holder, and the holder's claims and sentiments. Given that definition, a problem could be clarified as: given a topic and related texts, find a sentiment and claims over that topic, and then locate the holder of such sentiment and claim in the related text. Given that, the challenges of the problem are mainly 2. First, how to properly present the sentiments. Number 2, how to locate the holder. In order to counter the 2 challenges, the author has made 2 hypotheses. First, he will use a trinary representation of sentiments. Second, he will use a take closest, ignore others strategy as for holder location. Moreover, a cascade methodology is done here, consisting of mainly 3 parts: a region parser, a word-based classifications, and a sentence-based classifications. First, a region parser is introduced in order to identify the sentiment and the holder of the sentiment. It consists of mainly 2 steps. First, a holder identification using BBN's identifier and focusing only on organization and person. Second, finding sentiment region. Here, 4 variations between those sets are used and analyzed. Second, a word-based analysis over sentiment region is done. A seed list is first created using manually labeled verbs and adjectives and will be augmented with WordNet. This augmented seed list will be used in order to predict new words, and the models used for prediction here is a maximum likelihood model. At the very last, a sentence-based method will use the word-based results and combine them to produce a trinary classification of the sentiments over the opinions. Here, 3 models are used: a negative cancel one another out model, a harmonic mean, and a geometric mean. As for the results, the best performance combination will be negative cancel one another out model for sentence-based analysis and holder to the end of sentence for Windows, which yields 82% accuracy with manually annotated holder and 67% accuracy with automatic annotated holder. In the original paper, there exist some limitations. To start with, the original paper considers trinary representation of sentiments, which are not enough in some fields of studies. Second, words are often ambiguous, as in different contexts. Such problem is not addressed in the original paper, yet entails possibility for potential improvements. Third, long-distance negation is concluded to be very hard to detect in the original paper. In order to solve such problem, neural models are introduced. Finally, there also exist significant errors in automatic holder identification, especially given the hypothesis in the original paper that they considers only the nearest holder. In order to solve the problem, more precise identification and analysis over judgment opinions is done, and automatic extraction of opinion propositions and the corresponding holders is also carried out. One of the major problems addressed in the previous paper is that the original paper focuses only on binary or trinary sentiment definitions, and in some problems, for example in text classifications, a binary or trinary sentiment definition are not good enough fine-grained, and sometimes more precise sentiment detection is just needed. In response to that, this paper proposes a 5-star sentiment definition, which consists of positive label, somewhat positive, neutral, somewhat negative, and negative. However, this poses new challenges for classifications, because classifications using one-level flat classifiers, no matter SVM, decision tree, naive Bayes, or KNN, on such definition just does not perform good enough. In order to solve this problem, the author has proposed different hierarchical classifiers using cascade classifications. In this paper, mainly 2 structures are examined. The first structure, which is a 2-level structure, the first level will find out the polarity of the input, and the second layer will determine whether a positive input is a strong positive or weak positive, and determine whether a negative input is a strong negative or weak one. Well, the second classifier here is a 4-level classifier, and each level classifier addresses a binary 1 versus all problem. For example, the first level classifier, which is classifier 1, will decide whether the instance belongs to class 5 or class 1 to 4. A classifier 2 will classify the instance as class 4 or class 1 to 3, so on and so forth. Using such cascade classification, the results are quite promising. The improved performance using hierarchical classifiers are very obvious, and the most significant improvement has been done with KNN as the classification model, and using hierarchical structure number 2, which is the 4-level classifier, will improve such model by 19.2%.
The original paper considers only prior polarity, which means they give every word a fixed sentiment and use it in any sentences. But actually, a word can have different meanings in different sentences. So in this paper, written by Wilson and others in 2005, they combine prior polarity with dependency features to analyze contextual polarity. First, they experiment on a prior polarity classifier, and they observe that most mistakes are misclassification of neutral as polar. So they design a two-stage classification. In the first stage, words are classified as neutral or polar, and then polar words are further classified in the second stage as positive, negative, both, or neutral. This is a complete process. In the first step, a sentence is parsed as a dependency tree as shown here on the right. This tree describes the dependency relations between words. For example, report modifies poses, and poses is modified by report. Then, in the first stage classification, they design 28 different features, including word features, modification features, sentence features, etc. And here are some examples. This first binary feature means if this word modifies another word with a strong sentiment. This second feature means if it modifies a weak word. And finally, in the second stage classification, they also design 10 features, including word and polarity features. And here are some examples. A polarity shifter basically means a word that can shift the sentiment of the whole sentence. And here are the results. In the first stage classification, their classifier improves F measure for both polar and neutral words, but it also loses precision for polar words and recall for neutral words. The same thing also happens in the second stage classification. Their classifier improves F measure for all classes, but it always loses either precision or recall. Besides, this paper is limited in phrase level analysis. It doesn't have any sentence level analysis. This paper is about sentence level analysis. It is written by Chen and others in 2013. The original paper applies a backwards model where word order is ignored. And in this paper, they propose a recursive neural network model, which is RNN, but R is recursive, not recurrent. Similarly, sentences are also parsed as trees in this model, but in such a tree, words are all at leaves, and inner nodes are phrases, and root is the whole sentence. Every word is represented by a semantic vector. Every phrase also has its vector representation, but this vector is computed from its children by a function g. Here, it takes vector b and c and produces a vector p1 for this phrase. This phrase is very good. And they consider 3 different RNN models in this paper, which are RNN, and matrix vector RNN, and RNTN, where T stands for tensor. And this RNTN model is new in this paper. They perform sentiment analysis with a standard softmax classifier, as shown here. For example, if we want to classify word not, we multiply its factor A with a matrix WS, and then softmax, and then we get an output. This output Y can be either binary, which is positive and negative, or it can be fine-grained, which means more levels of sentiments. Here, positive, negative, somewhat negative, and neutral. And then they train this model. The loss function is just the sum of classification errors of all nodes. And then the standard backpropagation algorithm is applied to learn this matrix WS and parameters in function G. And here, parameters depend on what kind of a network is used. Their results are pretty good. On the left side, this table is about accuracy for sentiment classification. And as we can see here, the accuracy for binary classification over full sentences is very high. It's over 85%, which was never reached before. And other results are also very good. On the right side, these two pictures are about sensitivity to negation. The picture above shows the sensitivity to negated positive sentences, which means how the prediction of a positive sentence changes when this sentence is negated by some negative word or phrases. An RNTN model is most sensitive. And the picture below shows the same metric for negated and negative sentences. And this is a harder task. For example, a negative sentence like, "That's too bad," its negation can be, "That's not too bad," which is more close to neutral but not positive. So this task is harder, and most models are not sensitive to such negation. But RNTN model is still very sensitive to negated negative sentence, so it can correctly detect some long distance negation in this tree structure.
This paper by Kim et al. Introduces a method for analyzing judgment opinions. Opinions can be categorized into two types, beliefs and judgments. The paper focuses on the analysis judgment opinions since there is a high agreement between human annotators on whether their judgment is an opinion or not. A judgment opinion consists of three elements: the valence, which is the value of a judgment, for example, positive, negative, or neutral; a holder, an entity such as a person, organization, or group; and a topic, an event or entity about which the opinion is held. The major challenge is to identify holders when there are multiple opinion expressions in a sentence. Therefore, the paper breaks down the task into the following three parts: recognizing the opinion, identifying the valence, and identifying the holder. For detecting opinion-bearing words and their valence, a word sentiment classifier is used to classify each word into positive, negative, or neutral. Adding the neutral class can prevent the classifier from assigning positive or negative labels to weak opinion-bearing words. For a given word, we calculate its closeness to each category and then assign it to the most probable class. As for identifying opinion holders, the task here is to automatically find an opinion holder for each opinion expression. The paper used the maximum entropy model with ranking, which always selects the most probable candidate as the opinion holder. Here is how the holder identification system works. First, it generates all the possible holder candidates given a sentence and an opinion. Second, it parses the sentence to extract features using its syntactic path information. The parsed sentence expresses a tree structure shown in Figure 2, where structural features are selected from it. The 5 selected features are shown in Table 3. The system then ranks the holder candidates according to the score obtained by the maximum entropy ranking model and select the candidate holder with the highest score. For the experimental results of detecting opinion-bearing words, Table 6 shows the precision, recall, and F-score using tenfold cross-validation. From the table, we can see that there is a high precision in the neutral category, which means that the system is very good at filtering non-opinion-bearing words. In addition to that, recall is high in all cases, but the precision varies a lot. Very high for neutral and very low for positive category. Table 7 and 8 shows system accuracies with and without considering pronouns as candidates. The baseline system chooses the closest candidate to the expression as a holder and achieves an accuracy of 21.3% and 23.2% for including excluding pronouns as candidate holders. As a result, we can see that adopting syntactic features does help improve the system. Here we present a paper by Berthard et al. That aims to produce labels for propositional opinions. The goal of this paper is to automatically extract propositional phrases and identify their holders. This problem is treated as a supervised classification task based on data labeled with one of the following three labels: opinion proposition, opinion sentence, and non-opinion. The label opinion proposition means that the opinion is contained in a propositional verb argument. Opinion sentence indicates that the opinion is outside of such argument. Non-opinion labels show that the sentence does not explain how the speaker feels about the topic. The paper presented two approaches for identifying opinion propositions. The first one trains several SVM models for labeling propositional opinion components using different subsets of features. This approach is implemented using a one-tiered architecture that classifies each component of the syntactic parse tree of the sentence as either opinion proposition or null. Features include counts, which is the number of opinion-bearing words for each component, score sum, the sum of the opinion scores for each word in the component, and ADJP, a binary feature that indicates whether the component contains a complex adjective phrase as a child or not. The experimental results for opinion propositions are shown in Table 3. We can see that counts of opinion-bearing words are better predictors than counts of subjective words. ADJP also shows about same predictive power as the best opinion word features. Table 4 shows the result for a three-way classification of opinion proposition, opinion holder, and null. The results are actually very similar to the two-way classification results shown on the previous slide, which infers that the system is able to achieve same performance for identifying propositional opinions and opinion holders. The second approach first uses the semantic parser to get the semantic component and classify each proposition as opinion or not. It is implemented with a two-tiered architecture. The bottom tier is a semantic parser trained using SVM to identify propositions. The top tier consists of independent classifiers of the semantic parse to determine whether the propositions identified are opinions or not. Table 5 shows the results for opinion propositions using the two-tiered approach. The highest precision, 68%, is achieved when opinion-bearing words are used as features. When compared to the one-tiered architecture, a significantly higher precision is achieved with a two-tiered architecture. However, the recall is significantly lower than the one-tiered approach. The following is the comparison between our related work. First, the original paper introduces some problems of sentiment analysis. The second paper presents a multi-way classification of sentiments instead of binary classification. The third paper uses dependency trees and two-stage classification to analyze the sentiment of phrases and words in specific contexts. The fourth paper proposes an RNTM model that can detect negations over a long distance. The last two papers improve holder identification of judgment opinions using the maximum entropy model and propositional opinions using one- and two-tiered architectures. The above is our conclusion, and this is the end of our presentation. Thank you very much.